Hi, One Best PR Videos. I'm Peter Loshak. This is our daily MLB pitching preview show that we do with Joe Duffy from OffshoreInsiders.com, professional handicapper for almost 30 years, successful, consistent handicapper in the business. Joe Duffy, thanks for being back with us.
Well, thank you for having me, Peter.
All right, Joe, we're going to take a look at the card from Tuesday, May 26th. Everything going okay at OffshoreInsiders.com recently?
It is. Knock on wood as we file this, 8-4 the last 12 in Major League Baseball, but two dandy dogs, which are dogs of $1.40 or more, that have won. So it's been going nice, including some, big game of the month, name plays, etc.
Okay, well, I'm looking over this card for a Tuesday, May 26th. I'm seeing a lot of vulnerable arms. We'll see what you have to say about it. The first thing that catches my eye is R.A. Dickey and John Danks facing off in Toronto, right? What'll this total be? I guess probably 9.5 or 9 or something like that, but seems like, an over is in the offing here, right? Dickey is coming off of a good complete game start, but we know that he, throws in those decent starts with starts where he's very vulnerable. We know how vulnerable John Danks is. The White Sox offense, though, has really quieted down over the past week or so. I think it's been 7 games or something where they've scored 3 runs or less. And, there's some injuries on Toronto, like, Bautista is dealing with a shoulder injury. So I don't know, maybe an over isn't a good play here. It seems like both these starters, though, should be vulnerable. Right, Joe?
Dickey tends to be very streaky, but all in all, you're correct. He's not having a very good year, and Danks has really struggled north of the border. He's got a 6.67 ERA in Toronto, and that's with quite a few starts under his belt. So you're correct. Probably a high total, but plenty of reason to still bet this game over the total. I'd be a little bit worried about Dickey. Like I said, those knuckleball pitchers, once they get in a groove, they can sometimes stay in it, and he is off of a complete game against the Angels, but still, all in all, I wouldn't go to the well with either one of these pitchers, so the over is probably my early lean.
All right, and then another game where two vulnerable pitchers. Looks like we have another game where we might see offense is Houston-Baltimore, Scott Feldman and Chris Tillman. And Tillman just looking all kinds of bad signs with him, right? He's got back issues, he's got control issues, he's getting hit. It's just kind of a mess for Tillman. We know that Houston's been one of the most profitable teams in baseball to bet on. Scott Feldman on the other side is not great either, but, usually is somewhat serviceable. So I'm thinking that probably, is there any reason not to expect more high scoring here and to lean Houston?
You are correct. Feldman, 4.85 ERA and 14 career appearances against the Orioles, and that includes in relief. Obviously, when you're in relief, you're usually brought in for shorter spurts and where you match up on the lefty and righty, but you're usually going to have a better ERA in relief. But Feldman is really struggling, and as you said, Tillman is off of a very rough outing. He has not won since April the 18th, and he's lost 4 of his last 5 starts with plus that no decision. So both pitchers are struggling. No reason to believe either one of them is going to come out of it.
And then let me get your take on Jacob deGrom, because he's starting for the Mets against Philadelphia, and he, is coming off an awesome start, right? An 8-inning, 1-hit shutout start, 11 strikeouts, no walks, an awesome start. But he has been dealing with some hip and shoulder issues recently. And, so we have 2 games where you said probably don't expect anything different than what we've seen from these pitchers recently. I'm suspecting, and it's just a gut feeling, that maybe deGrom might be a little bit more vulnerable here than he looks on paper. Philadelphia doesn't have the greatest lineup, but their bats have been okay. And deGrom coming off that great start, maybe dealing with some health issues. Do you think maybe deGrom might be due for a more mediocre start here?
deGrom, though, has actually had a good strikeout to walk ratio. Now, admittedly, I've said on some of the videos, I do believe that strikeouts are a little bit on the overrated side. I don't know if deGrom is much of a fade here, and he'll probably be going up against Jerome Williams, a guy who's been beyond atrocious. Got a 7.03 ERA in 5 starts in May. So even if deGrom gives up a couple runs, I don't think he's going to be outpitched by Jerome Williams by any stretch of the imagination. I think it's a big pitching mismatch in favor of the Mets here.
And then let's just talk about Clayton Kershaw, right? What is up with Kershaw? The Dodgers are 4-5 in his 9 starts this year. He's been very overvalued, but, here again, we have a situation where he's probably going to be a big favorite. The competition doesn't look that tough. Atlanta doesn't have the most fearsome lineup in the world. Julio Teheran on the other side can definitely have some great starts, but he's not definitely not one of these lights out all the time guys. Is Kershaw going to be overvalued again here? What do you think?
Well, Kershaw, the current Braves are only hitting 151 against Kershaw, but as you will probably point out, of course, Kershaw has not really been pitching like the Clayton Kershaw, who this time last year, for really the entire season last year, was the single most dominant pitcher in baseball. And Tehran has turned it around. He got off to that atrocious start. I mean, really where he was in danger of losing his spot in the rotation, but he's rebounded by pitching very well in 3 of his last 4 starts. We say time and time again, it's about value, and I do think that you're obviously going to be getting a big number if you bet on Atlanta here, and the way that Tehran has turned it around, the fact that Kershaw, the odds are going to be based on the Clayton Kershaw of years past, and he hasn't put it together. I think the Braves will be of pretty good value here.
All right, Joe. Dodgers again, 4-5 in Clayton Kershaw's 9 starts. Who saw that coming? I didn't see that coming. All right, what else do you want to bring to our attention from Tuesday, May 26th?
Well, if you go back and watch the old videos, remember what I said, that pitchers that are coming off of phenomenal years, career years as Kershaw was, then things kind of exploded in the playoffs. You can see how mentally it would be tough for him to come out of the gate very quickly. So I even said in some of the videos that I expected that Kershaw to be a pretty good fade earlier in the year. But as far as some of the other news and notes, my namesake, Danny Duffy, no relation as far as I know, but 8.05 ERA in 19 innings pitched to the Yankees. So he has gotten beaten up by the Yankees. You remember, I love pitchers who are regressing to the mean, and regressing can also, by the definition of regressing to the mean, that can also mean progressing. And in the case of Clay Buchholz, got off to an atrocious start, 6.03 ERA initially, but his last 3 starts, 2.49. So I think now is probably the time to start riding him. And
all right, but Minnesota, let me stop you there. Minnesota, the most profitable team in baseball overall, the most profitable team in baseball in May, and the most profitable home team in baseball overall on the year. You think that's wise to bet against?
Well, again, they're going to be going up against a Boston team that got out of the gate pretty slowly, but Boston themselves has turned it around. But at the very least, you know, as we file this, it's before I've actually made my final picks.
Right.
But as far as the pitchers are concerned, I'm going to put that one in the Boston column. And by the time I finalize my picks, I'll certainly look at some of the team stuff.
All right, Joe Duffy from OffshoreInsiders.com. Thanks.